Yes.
So I have a question here for you. When
Yeah.
you describe what you did in terms of bias, passive bias, or you use the word ego, I have a problem with all these supernatural words, ego, God,
Okay.
energy, because they, not because they have a inherent problem in themselves, because they lead themselves to a lot of conjuncture, or all of us may have different feelings, different emotions, different ways of understanding these words.
Yeah.
And I try and live with everyday words that, say, my security guard will be using, my liftman would be using, or anybody on the road on a tea stall when I am having a
Yeah.
chai, and that worker he comes and talks, he won't talk such
Yeah.
words. And he's living life as much as you and I are living, irrespective of our knowledge or whatever we think.
Yeah.
So I want to get into this bit of. I liked where you brought the conversation to start with the point of we were starting with bias, which says personal preference for
Yeah.
ourselves, if I were to
Yeah.
call it. You brought it to a point where you're saying personal preference doesn't matter. When you see a nice pair of shoes or jeans, you just have something good for. It's nice, may it serve someone nicely, and may those guys be happy. It's
Yeah.
a blessing of sorts that you are leaving behind, which which to me is a sense of uh, not investing too much in yourself.
Huh.
So from a personal preference to not investing in yourself is quite a journey. I would have
Yes.
hoped that this would have been the last point of the chat, but since you brought it here, I want to know this.
Can
Um,
you repeat it?
yeah, I am saying I would want to.
Yeah.
I would have been happy if this was the last point of the chat,
Mm.
but since you brought it at this point, I want to dig deeper here.
Yeah.
What was the learning curve, or what was
Uh-huh.
the point in the learning curve where you decided to let go of your personal preference? Because you keep calling it dark space, you keep calling it uh, something else. Today,
Ignorance.
yeah, ignorance. I and a friend were talking about this, and there have been some people with a great deal of problems in their lives that I and this friend know.
Hmm.
And I was telling him that how is it that they do not see that there could be something beyond what they know? Because they have fixed their solutions also.
Okay.
So if I don't have money, either I have to um, work very hard and earn it, or else I have to steal it, or else I have to do this, or else I have to do that. Moral things, immoral things, they just fix the whole thing there, and they
Uh,
feel that within these four or five possibilities, or two, three possibilities, depending upon their bias, that's life.
uh,
Now, you spoke about yourself from this perspective that you were like this earlier.
yeah.
So, what changed? Internally, what did you tell yourself? What was it that didn't hold good for you?
Nothing felt good anymore. So somewhere I realized ki what I thought which was important, which was holding me back, which was pulling me into pointlessness. So once I realized ki my ideology, my worldview was the problem. So I started to crack on that. I started to see if it would break, if I could get through it, if I could try to undo it. That itself was a very long journey to come out of what I thought was the reality. And yeah, it's very actually quite unbelievable. Ki once you have a thought, your brain starts to work along those lines, right? If if I get angry at something, my brain runs along those lines. Ki, how could he say that to me? It'll keep repeating that. It'll keep ruminating on that. But these are all negative things. The mind likes to latch on to what pulls you down. But if you wish to uplift yourself, you have to work on that. Right? You have to constantly keep reminding yourself, ki, no, have to say no to that and have to say yes to which is life affirming, which is positive, which is uplifting. You have to pull yourself out of that misery, self-imposed misery. Everything is self-imposed. Right? The
Yeah.
reality that we perceive is self-imposed. So pulling yourself out of yourself to realize that the identity that you think you are is just a perception. That itself is a perception. So to understand this depth of wisdom, I somehow finally got into reading, and many of the scriptural texts helped me crack that egoistic shell that I had built around myself. So that has been very great help in my journey, learning and studying spiritual texts.
Okay, I have a question here
Yeah,
because I have a problem with the spiritual text bit here.
yeah,
I know of a lot of people who read a lot of spiritual texts
yeah,
on a daily basis.
yeah,
Some of them are religious minded. Some of them are really trying to find the truth,
yeah,
and yet others are just reading them to get a sense of what is being said, so that they have, for want of a better term, more ammunition for a debate on those lines.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
either one reads to um, open one's mind, or one reads to uh,
Entertain conversations.
buttress one's facts.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so my opinion is good. These guys are also thinking my opinion is good. So that means I am definitely on the right track.
yeah.
So my question to you is, why does it not occur to other people, and why did it occur to you? What was so special about the scripture? Was it so secretive and you found something that nobody else has found in those texts?
Hey, the truth has always been right in front of us. That is another twist here. Ki, the answer that you're seeking is always in front of you. We are so blinded with our own thoughts, with our own, like I said, self-imposed ignorance and suffering. We fail to see what is right in front of us. So my journey was, once I realized ki what I thought was not working, I started to read. Finally, I started to read. And that reading was out of desperation. Ki, where am I going wrong? What is the truth? The idea that I had about truth, nothing is meaningful. Everything is meaningless. Nothing makes sense. Everything is just by chance. So, where am I wrong? If that is one perception, that is my perception, then all the spiritual gurus and everyone, what did they realize? That question came to my mind. So, from one end, where I had closed myself to one corner of this existence, ki, "Haan, this is my wall, this is my bubble within which I will live and I will suffer." Once I started to explore ki, where are the different spheres, enormous spheres of energy that people have accumulated, then I started to get a glimpse of what the absolute truth is about. I can just say glimpse, as in, again, it's mental construct again, but the experience wise, it always eludes me. I guess I'm not ready yet. But yeah, once I started to seek and learn, once I started to listen, try to understand their experience of reality, then my mind began to expand. Ki, I do not have to entertain my own limited, ignorant thoughts. Once I realized ki I do not know anything, then I began to grow. Then I began to learn.
Okay,
Again,
that's a good thing.
yeah.
Sorry, you wanted to complete that?
Huh. So the drive to know, the desperation of the moment, of pointlessness, that anguish. Because pointlessness is very debilitating. Even though I have a working body, mind, everything is good. You debilitate yourself, you retard yourself. It's agony. Once you reach that level of pain, internal pain, nobody is causing any pain, nobody's hurting you, nobody's poking you, nobody's cutting you. But within you are stuck. You don't know what to do because you have put yourself in there. Once you are that desperate, then things began to click. Wisdom is all around us. The simplest of words could help you realize something. But are you willing to listen? That is a question. I was willing to listen because that was my state of the rock bottom that I was talking about. That desperation, that pointlessness had put me in that state of restlessness, whether awake or asleep, restless. So that I think was what triggered this understanding of wisdom.